What is up, fellas? We are back for another UFC predictions video, this time for UFC Fight Night. Song versus Cejudo. Guys, we finally picked up a little bit of momentum on predictions. We've done good for back-to-back weekends. Start of this year was rough, but we are turning it around. Um, if you're new, subscribe. It's free. There's no reason not to. Uh, let's jump right into it. Alrighty, fellas, kicking us off at a light heavyweight, Modestas Bukauskas is taking on Rafael Sequeira. Guys, I'm gonna go with Modestas Bukauskas, but I want this to be noted. This line I don't agree with. This Sequeira guy was even money with Ibo Aslan, and now he's plus 250 against Modestas Bukauskas. I think there's a lot of line overcorrection here. I do think Modestas Bukauskas is going to win this fight because Sequeira, um, I'm not sure if he's comfortable with his opponent throwing strikes at him. He kind of just gave up against the cage against Ibo Aslan, who I think is pretty terrible in this division, to be honest. So it's not a great look. Um, Sequeira's got good kicks. He's got a lot of finishes. Um, but he looked like shit in his UFC debut. And Modestas Bukauskas is a guy who's fought his way back to the UFC, who's got a lot of experience against a lot of top-ish level guys. Um, he's got a decent kickboxing skill set. Coming off a win over Marcin Prachniow, who's a pretty tricky veteran to get a win over for a lot of these up-and-coming 205 guys. I'm going to go with Modestas Bukauskas here. I trust in the experience and the 3-round work rate for this guy over a Sequeira, who does have like the ability to get a finish, but I can't really pick him on that. After seeing his debut, I was not impressed at all. Bukowskis is a bit chinny, so I could see a world where maybe Sequeira catches him with something, but that's if he decides to throw a strike and not just become a human heavy bag on the end of the cage. So I'm going to go with Modestas Bukowskis here. I think you can probably get a finish in this matchup. I think you'll probably take this guy into like round two, where he'll just start to fucking slow down and die. I don't think this guy's ever been outside of a round one either. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Bukowskis for sure, like round two or three finish. I could see that for sure. Moving up to middleweight, Nursultan Ruzaboev versus Eric Makaniko. Um, I'm going with Nursultan Ruzaboev. Eric Makaniko is what I would define as pretty mid, especially for a guy who's 34. He's all right. He's nothing crazy. Nursultan Ruzaboa isn't exactly God's gift to mixed martial arts either. But he has some experience against some decent fighters. He's got some submission threat. He's got good striking. He's got a good left hand, basically. He's gigantic for this division. I actually kind of like him at 185 more than 170. He has some all right wins as well. Like, let's go take a look here. Knocked out Bruno Fajea, which I think is a pretty underrated win. Um, get that shit off my fucking screen. Beat Cedric Dumas. Cheated a little bit in that fight, but it's okay. I like that from a guy if I'm picking him. And then lost a decision to Joaquin Buckley. You know, these guys, like specifically Bruno Fajea and Buckley, they're decent fighters. I think they're well above the level of an Eric Mecanico here, who's taken this fight on short notice as well. Granted, Ruzaboev is as well, but I'm going to trust in him. Gigantic for the division. He's got a pretty well-rounded skill set. He's got good power on the feet, and I think he can find that left hand on an Eric Mecanico. I think he can get a finish here in this matchup. I think in like rounds two or three as well. I think it might go a little bit longer. I don't love this line, but I understand why it's lined this way. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Nursultan Ruzaboev. I think he can find a finish here in this matchup and get himself back in the win column. Moving up to bantamweight, Ricky Simone is taking on Javid Basharat. Guys, I'm gonna need you to forgive me, but I am biased in this matchup. All right, I'm gonna say this now before anybody feels any type of way about what I'm gonna say here. I'm going with Ricky Simone. Suck my balls. I like Ricky Simone, and I think this is an approachable matchup for him to win compared to his last three fights. Okay, Ricky Simone's kind of been through the gauntlet, in his last three fights, which are all losses. He's lost his last three. In his last five, knocked out Rafael Sunsao in 2021, good win. First guy to beat Jack Shore in the UFC, good win. Huge underdog as well in that matchup. Ricky Simone was. Song Yadong in a main event, who is main eventing this card later. Lost in the fifth round. Hard fight. Hard fight. Song was just getting the better of him on the feet and stop at the takedowns. Mario Bautista, really close 3-round fight, really competitive, which I think is a good look. And then Vinicius Oliveira lost to him. I think he mostly lost to Oliveira just because of the danger factor, which is something I don't think Javid Basharat really has. I don't think Javid Basharat is very dangerous. Like he's got 11 finishes. He's got good submission skills, but on the feet, I don't think Ricky Simone particularly needs to be fearful of Javid Basharat on the feet. Now, I'm going to say this, and this is going to age terribly. I think Javid Basharat will have a speed advantage on the feet, but I've seen Ricky Simone fight some pretty fast guys on the feet. So I think he'll be all right. Ricky Simone's a real kind of inside boxer type fighter. He likes to get in on the inside. He's got really good takedowns, and he's got the ability to do that for a very long amount of time. And I want to draw attention to this because I actually think this was kind of an impressive performance. Oh, I already have his profile pulled up. Despite losing to Song Yadong, I think it was impressive that Ricky Simone didn't really slow down for all 5 rounds. Considering he was getting beat up, his takedowns weren't working. Like his game plan wasn't working, and he was still hanging tough for 5 rounds against this guy. It's much harder and much more exhausting to keep a pace when what you're doing isn't working. Like if you're shooting takedowns that are getting stuffed, it is infinitely more tiring than shooting takedowns and getting them. You know what I mean? So the fact that his game plan wasn't working and he was hanging tough for 5 rounds while he was getting beat up kind of lets you know the condition that this guy kind of comes in. He's very, very well conditioned, and he can chain wrestle pretty well. Now, I think Javid Basharat is pretty good in the wrestling defense. I think he's a good grappler. However, like when you look at this guy's build, doesn't he just look weak as shit? You know what I mean? Um, like when you look at these other guys, like Song Yudong, short jacked guy. Mario Bautista's on fucking steroids. That's why he has the face of a 48-year-old man. And Vinicius Oliveira is a very powerful guy. When I look at Basharat, like this guy looks like he's made of paper towels. You know what I mean? Like I could honestly see. Maybe I'm smoking penis. I don't know, but I just feel like Ricky Simone could ragdoll this fucking twink. Crazy. I might be crazy. Um, I'm going with Ricky Simone in a very close competitive decision over 3 rounds. I like 29-28. Uh, as a plus 220 dog. Another reason I'm picking him is just because I think this line's a little bit insane. Because if we look at Javid Basharat's career, his wins are just kind of mid, if I'm being honest. Like in the UFC, Trevin Jones, okay. Tony Gravely, Tony Gravely was okay. Mateus Mendoca, not great. And these are all guys we're taking to a decision. All of these guys were going to a decision. No contest against Victor Henry. However, Victor Henry was giving him a pretty tough fight in round 1. That's all I'm saying. And then Ayman Zahabi beats him. I just feel like Ricky Simone is above the level of anybody he's fought. Maybe not an Ayman Zahabi on the feet in particular, but like a Mendoka, a Victor Henry. Uh, I don't know what justifies him being this big of a favorite. Now, I do think he's good. I think he's got a very fair shot at winning here, but I'm going with the dog. I'm going with my slime sticky Ricky Simone. I think we're going to get a close decision win here. Hopefully. Probably not, but it's all good. Moving up to middleweight, Mansour Abdul Malik is taking on Nick Klein. I'm going with Mansour Abdul Malik. Nick Klein had a pretty good performance on Dana White's Contender Series. However, I fear here he is going to get absolutely fucking smashed. Mansour Abdul Malik, Uh, has improved his stand up a little bit, which is a good thing. He's got really decent takedowns and he's got really, really nasty ground and pound. And he's a very athletic and physical guy. I just think Nick Klein is going to get smushed by this freak of nature, quite frankly. Um, I don't really know what more to break down. Nick Klein's normally a grappler. I don't think he's going to have any grappling success here. Um, I could be wrong. I'm still not sold on Mansour Abdul Malik because I did not love his performance on the Contender Series against what the fuck is this guy's name? Weston Schultz. I did not love this performance at all, but he did come back and win in round two. Then he beat Dusko Todorovic. Dusko's kind of mid. He's very mid, but I just think if Nick Klein can't get the grappling going, what does he do? What does bro even do? Nothing is kind of what I'm thinking. And, you know, I think if Nick Klein were to get on top of Mansour Abdul Malik, Abdul Malik would power out and probably find his way back to his feet. If Mansour Abdul Malik got on top of Nick Klein, I think Nick Klein is going to fucking die. So I'm going to go with Mansour Abdul Malik by probably like a ground and pound TKO, honestly. It's kind of his specialty, I would say. Moving up to featherweight, Andre Fili versus Miguel Costa. Close fight, tricky fight. I'm not really sure on this one, but part of me, it's screaming at me, and through the many prediction videos I've done on this channel, I'm kind of an Andre Fili picker and Andre Fili enjoyer. And I'm kind of thinking I'm going to do that again. I kind of think I'm going to pick Fili again. Just because I just like Fili's striking, dude. When he's locked in, he's very good on the feet. He's got great power. He's got great speed. He's got good precision as well. Miguel Costa, I haven't really been that impressed with him. Like his win over Shaylin Nerdy and Beke. As a guy who picked Nerdy and Beke, I was a little bit annoyed at this fight. Mostly because Nerdy and Beke, I think, was had the potential to win this fight, but he just simply quit in round three. Got knocked out by Steve Garcia. That'll happen. Beat Austin Lingo, who's fucking terrible. Got subbed up by Tiago Moises in his debut. We can forgive him for that. You know, Andre Fili lately, he's very hit and miss. We know this, but win over Bill Algeo, I think, is good. Nathaniel Wood, unanimous decision. I think Nathaniel Wood is an incredibly skilled fighter. So, and this was honestly a close fight as well. Like this was a pretty back and forth fight for a while. This win over Lucas Almeida, I think, is aging pretty well in my opinion. Then he lost to Dan Ige. Dan Ige is really quite good, very dangerous on the feet. And then beat Cub Swanson in a very close fight. And Cub Swanson's coming off of a win as well. I think, just based off of these wins, I think we're beating, we're at least fighting a higher level of competition for sure. Like, I think Nathaniel Wood and like Dan Ige are much stiffer tests for an Andre Fili than a Miguel Costa. Costa's all right. He's got a takedown. He's got some submission skills himself, and he's got decent kickboxing as well. I think this is a really close fight, but I'm just gonna lean Andre Fili here. I just think he's got more power on the hands. I think he's got better speed. I think he's a little bit cleaner with the hands as well. And I think he can find the mark on Miguel Costa. I think he can keep himself safe in the grappling exchanges. And I think he can find himself a finish, honestly, Andre Fili. I think he can hurt Miguel Costa on the feet. We've seen it before. Um, I think he can utilize. He's one of these guys I think can actually utilize a reach advantage as well. So I'm going to go with Andre Fili. I think he's going to get a TKO over Miguel Costa. I think in like rounds 2 or 3. Moving up to light heavyweight, Iwan Kutelaba taking on Ibo Aslan. I'm gonna go with Ibo Aslan just because once again, every time Iwan Kutelaba fights, I just don't trust him. He is the 50-50 machine. Um, Not even. Uh, I just can't trust him, man. Um, could he finish Ibo Aslan? Easily. I don't think Ibo Aslan's very good, but he's going to be the bigger guy in here. He's got a reach advantage. He's riding a ton of momentum. I think he can catch Iwan Kutelaba on the feet, but Iwan Kutelaba could catch him too. Iwan Kutelaba could take him down as well. Hold on. Hold on. We could take down Ebo Echelon. I want to check something. This is very important to me. Where are you? This is something I must see. This is something I must understand really quickly. Where are you? Okay. I was gonna say if there was going to be a single takedown gotten by Anton Turkauj in this matchup, I would have picked Iwan Kutelaba without a fucking thought. Oh, this I'm actually torn on this one now. Hmm. You know what? Just because I think it'd be funny, I'm gonna go with Iwan Kutelaba. Actually, I know I say I can't trust him, and I can't. Chances are he probably loses, but I'm picking him because he has a similar finishing upside on the feet to an Ebo Aslan. But I think maybe we get a little bit of that grappling going. I think Iwan Kutelaba's got a better takedown than Anton Turkaush. I think he's a little bit more powerful. He just went to a hard fought decision against another really powerful guy. I think Iwan Kutelaba can win this fight. Low key. Yeah, let's go, Iwan. I'm going with Iwan Kutelaba. I think maybe we get a decision win here over Ibo Aslan. Bold pick for the children. Moving up to light heavyweight. Andre Alonzo Minifield versus Julius Walker. Yeah. This is actually more of a tricky one than you would expect because Julius Walker's kind of got a good style to beat a guy like Alonzo Minifield. I almost called him Andre again. Am I fucking smoking dick? Alonzo Minifield, very powerful fighter. Uh, a lot of experience in the UFC. Fought some really, really top level guys against a guy in Julius Walker making his debut. A lot of people I think are going to be picking Alonzo Minifield. I think I might be one of them, but I want to give a shout to Julius Walker. I think he's got a real fair shot at an upset here. He's got a really good grappling game, and I think that's kind of something that can be Alonzo Minifield's kryptonite here. His stand-up, though, it's decent, but it's worrisome at times. I think defensively he's a little bit not the most responsible. But then again, I've seen Alonzo Minifield just sprint straight at Carlos Olberg in the first 4 seconds of a fight, so he's not exactly the most defensively responsible either. Um, I also don't love this line. I don't love Minifield minus 240 at all. I'm going to pick him to win just because he's got all the experience on his side. He's fought a lot of top level guys, a lot of guys with good grappling, a lot of powerful strikers. He's been in there with a lot of really good fighters, and Julius Walker really hasn't. And the moment is going to be in front of a crowd. The moment might be too big for him. A lot of guys in their debut don't quite look as good as they look in their next fight. I'm going to just slightly lean Alonzo Minifield here. I think he might be able to find that shot that can hurt a guy like Julius Walker on the feet and maybe get himself a TKO win here in this matchup. Yeah, I'm going to go with Alonzo Minifield by TKO, but I do think Julius Walker, with his grappling, has a fair shake at getting an upset win here in his debut. Methinks. Moving up to featherweight, John Silva taking on Melsik Bagdasaryan. Guys, I'm going with John Silva here, but I want to say this. This line is batshit insane. Listen, I have been impressed by John Silva in his last couple of fights. Everybody has. But this is going to almost certainly be a kickboxing matchup. And I don't think Gian Silva is going to look minus 600 against Melsik Bagdasaryan in a kickboxing matchup. I just don't. Do I think he'll win? Sure. Do I think he's going to look like a 6-1 favorite? No. Melsik Bagdasaryan's actually his only attribute is that he's a pretty good kickboxer. Granted, his wins aren't very good. And his losses to and do exactly what I don't want you to do. Thank you, ESPN. What a wonderful, lovely service we have here. There we go. Tucker Lutz, terrible. Losing to Josh Cooley bout, I don't love, but he kind of fluked the sub, in my opinion, to be honest. He was on his way to getting his ass whipped. Souza's terrible. Colin Anglin's terrible. Dennis Bazooka's fucking terrible. So I understand why Gian Silva is a huge favorite. Not this huge though. I think minus 300 is a little bit more reasonable. Minus 600 is insane. Granted, Gian Silva in his last two fights beat Charles Jourdain and Drew Dober. Very impressive wins. Missed weight for Charles Jourdain though, so I kind of hate him for that. He knocked out my Pookie Bear Charles Jourdain because he missed weight. The pussy. Um, but then he went up and beat Drew Dober, so he's got my respect. Weston Wilson, nobody cares. This win, I actually think is underrated. Kevin Vahalos. I can't say this kid's last name, but this kid's really good. I've watched both of his fights in the Contender Series. I'm waiting for him to make his debut. This kid's got really nice boxing, and I actually picked him on his first Contender Series matchup against Gian Silva. Actually, I picked him to win because I watched some of his tape beforehand, and I saw some of his boxing. I thought, man, this kid's got really good boxing. Granted, at the time, he's very young. He's what, 21? So a little bit too early to be fighting a Gian Silva, but taking him to a decision, I think, I mean, that's a pretty good aging look, is what I'll say. But yeah, I'm going to go with Gian Silva. I think he's probably going to win like a decision here. And I think this fight's going to be a little bit more competitive than this line would indicate, just because I think this is largely going to be a stand-up contest, and Melsik Bagdasaryan's only skill set is the fact that he is a kickboxer. He's got really nice high kicks. He's got good speed on him. But I think Gian Silva is just a little bit too physical. Despite being the smaller guy, I think he's just going to be a little bit too physical in there. I'm going to go with Gian Silva. Although, once again, I want this to be noted. Melsik Bagdasaryan, he's got a shot, dude. Like, he's not a zero, but he is kind of a pull-out merchant. So I hope Gian Silva wins, and we can keep riding this hype train. I do like Gian Silva. I love his style. So I hope he gets the win. I think he will. I think he'll probably get a decision win here, maybe like a 29-28. I think this will be a pretty competitive fight on the feet for all three rounds. I could see either guy. I can't really see Bagdasaryan getting a finish. I could see Gian Silva landing a big shot and getting a finish, though. He seems to have really, really good power. Moving up to a catch weight between Rob Font and Gene Matsumoto. Guys, I've played these games before. I'm going with Rob Font against the young up-and-coming prospect. I do not give a fuck. I've played these games before. I thought Kyler Phillips was the guy. I thought he was going to pass the Rob Font test, and Rob Font literally bitched him. Gene Matsumoto is a guy I have picked in, I think, both of his UFC fights, and he's looked really quite good. But I just think on short notice, this might be a little bit too much, a little bit too soon. I think Rob Font's a guy you really kind of got to prepare for, especially if you're a young guy who hasn't really touched the upper echelon of the division yet. It might be a little bit too much. And as a plus 130, I love Rob Font in a spot like this. Let's take a look at Rob Font's career here real quick. Kyler Phillips, fraud checked. Figueiredo lost to former champion, top of the division, very, very dangerous fighter. Corey Sandhagen, top of the division, very, very dangerous fighter. Adrian Yanez, we flatlined that fucking pussy. And then Marlon Vera, top of the division, high-level guy. When you give Rob Font these up-and-coming contenders, he typically beats the shit out of them, is what you'll notice. So, you know, I'm going to follow the trend. I think Gene Matsumoto is really good. He's got nice striking. He's got a decent grappling game. He's got good submissions. He's pretty well-rounded. But I could see Rob Font just boxing his fucking head off. And that's kind of what I think is going to happen, honestly. Because Gene Matsumoto is hittable. He was getting hit a lot by Brad Katana, which I don't love. But Brad Katana is a pretty well-rounded guy. Got a lot of good experience. But I'm going to go with Rob Font. I think he's just going to be better on the feet. He is a bit chinny. And he does have a little bit of a weakness to the takedown once you get him down. His initial takedown defense is all right. It's just once you get him there, he doesn't really have an answer. But yeah, I'm going to go with Rob Font. I don't know. He just typically wins matchups against young prospects. And this one's on short notice at a catch weight. I think it might be a little bit too much too soon for Gene Matsumoto. I think Matsumoto would be better served getting like kind of like a fringe top 15 guy than getting this matchup. But we'll see though. Maybe he will rise to the occasion and get himself a victory. That'd be cool to see because I do quite like Matsumoto and his style. I think he's really fun to watch. And Rob Font's typically pretty fun to watch too, as long as the fight stays standing. Moving up to what I believe is our co-main event. Yes, it is. At middleweight, Brendan Allen taking on Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. Guys, I'm going with Fluffy Hernandez here in this matchup. We've seen this fight before. Granted, it was a few years ago. Granted, both guys, I think, have made significant improvements to their games since that first meeting. But I do kind of think it's going to go similarly to the first, where Anthony Hernandez is just kind of a step ahead in the grappling exchanges. Um, Brendan Allen is a really talented wrestler. He's got good grappling, but Anthony Hernandez just seems to kind of operate on another level of wrestling, at least at this point in his career. He's very good. He's got very good pressure. His cardio seems nigh infinite. And I think on the feet, these guys are pretty even. I don't really think either guy is a particularly good striker. If, gun to my head, if I had to give an edge to somebody on the feet, it would probably be Brendan Allen. Um, but I've seen Brendan Allen kind of get tired. I've seen Brendan Allen kind of give up in a grappling exchange. I have not seen that really from Anthony Hernandez so much. And that's why I'm picking him. Plus, we've seen this matchup before. You know, oh, and Brendan Allen's head, he's like, "Fuck, this guy got me that first time." But maybe that motivates him. I just think Anthony Hernandez is on his way up right now. I really do. He's shown a lot of good performances lately. Beat Michel Pereira in a 5-rounder. Absolutely destroyed him. Outside of like a little sketchy moment in round 1, he was good for the rest of the fight. Subbed up Roman Kopylov easy. Beat Edmund Shabazian easy. Beat Barry Holt. Like, these are decent wins. Granted, Brendan Allen's been fighting better fighters lately. Like, much better. You know, he's coming off of a loss to Nasruddin Imavov, but before that, beat Chris Curtis in a split decision. No matter how you felt about that fight, Chris Curtis is pretty good. So that's not a bad win to have. Paul Craig, you know, whatever. Bruno Silva, whatever. Andre Muniz, decent win, especially submission win. But I am just going to slightly lean Anthony Hernandez here. I think as the fight goes on, I think he's going to start to ramp up. And I think Brendan Allen, if anything, he's going to go down a little bit. So I'm going to go with Anthony Hernandez here. I think his work rate, his ability to out-grapple Brendan Allen, if he still can, which I think he can, I think that'll probably lend itself to him getting like a 29-28 decision here. Maybe Brendan Allen has a really good first or second round, but then Anthony Hernandez kind of comes on and gets himself a decision here over Brendan Allen is kind of what I'm thinking here. I do think the line's a little bit insulting, though. Like, I think Anthony Hernandez should be like minus 200 tops, if you ask me personally. Um, but yeah. Moving up to the main event, Henry Cejudo taking on Song Yadong. Um, Guys, I'm going with Song Yadong. I do think the line's a bit crazy. I've said that on a lot of fights this card. Henry Cejudo still is, you know, like a former double champ. Let's be real here. But he is 34 at a very light division. Not his natural division either. I mean, technically it is, but like, he's kind of undersized at 135, if you ask me. And Song Yadong's a very physical guy. He's got very good takedown defense. He's got very good power in his hands. He's got very good speed. He's got nice boxing. And Henry Cejudo, although I think he's very skilled, he's got a ton of 5-round experience. He's got good wrestling. My thing is with Henry Cejudo is his wrestling's always kind of been, I don't want to say mid, but due to the style of wrestling that he practiced, he's always kind of struggled with, once he gets the takedown, keeping the guy down has never really been a good skill of his. Like, he can get the takedown. It was kind of like a Yoel Romero, where Yoel Romero could get a takedown on anybody, but he really couldn't hold them down very well. It's kind of a similar thing. It's just that style of wrestling that they both have. And Song Yadong's really good at scrambling. Like, once he hits the mat, he's really quick to get up. I don't really think Henry's got the submission skills to really threaten the Song Yadong with a submission. I don't really think Henry Cejudo on the feet has that much of a threat for Song Yadong. Like, I've seen Song Yadong eat some pretty big shots over way more powerful punches than Cejudo. And I think if you're giving Song Yadong a reach advantage, I kind of worry, especially because Henry Cejudo, you know, he's getting older. Now, granted, he's coming off of 2 losses, but they're to the elite of the elite. Like, Aljamain Sterling, this is a very close fight. This was a very close fight here for the title against Aljamain Sterling. And then a fight in Merab Dvalishvili where he took the first round. My thing is, both of these guys, Sterling and Dvalishvili, now I'm going to say this about Sterling, but like a little bit take it with a grain of salt. These guys don't really have that crazy of a finishing upside. Sterling way more than Marab. He's got a really good submission skill set, but I just think on the feet here, like these two guys aren't Song Yadong threat on the feet. He's just got this intangible power that when he hits people, it's like, oh fuck. And I think he's just going to be a little bit cleaner in the boxing. I don't really see Henry Cejudo taking him down. If he does take him down, I don't think he holds him down for very long. I don't see him submitting him. Hmm. But I have seen Song Yudong kind of get a little tired in moments, but he's been in main events before. He had a really good performance against Ricky Simone, who was trying to chain wrestle him, and he just dominated that fight. Granted, Henry Cejudo is a light years better wrestler, accolade-wise, than a Ricky Simone. I'm just going to lean Song Yudong. I'm leaning Song Yudong, all right? I'm picking Song Yudong. I'm almost talking myself out of it. I'm going with Song Yudong. Younger guy. He's got good experience against high-level fighters despite only being 27. He's got great boxing. He's got great speed. He's got good timing. He's got really good power. He's got good takedown defense. He's pretty scrambly when he hits the mat. He's able to find his way back up. And Henry Cejudo has been a guy, once he gets a takedown, like I said, not the best at holding guys there. Now, could Henry Cejudo work his way into the fight as this fight goes on? Absolutely. That's kind of where I think Cejudo has value. I think the first couple of rounds he might kind of be a little bit tentative. I think he might give up those rounds. But I think as the fight kind of goes on, that championship experience, I think he can start to make adjustments. And maybe make this fight a lot more competitive. But I am still going to lean Song Yudong. I don't think he finishes Cejudo though. Maybe he catches him with a big shot. I'm going to go with the Song Yudong decision. I know that sounds crazy, but I could see Song Yudong getting 3 rounds here. I could just see him landing the better shots in the feet. Like I could see these rounds being very close. Maybe Henry's getting a little bit better, getting the better of him in like the grappling and stuff. Then boom, big shot steals the round. Then boom, big shot steals the round. I can see that happening. I'm gonna go with Song Yudong by decision. We'll see. I don't know. I think this fight should be lined a lot closer. I think this fight's going to be more competitive than a lot of people are thinking. But yeah, that's it for this card, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it a ton, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.